We're joined now by Yousra Khanouchi, the daughter of the exiled Tunisian political leader Rachid Khanouchi, and Abdelbari Atwan, editor of the independent Al-Quds newspaper. Yousra Khanouchi, let's just start with how you perceive Tunisia. Do you see it as a completely unique experience, or do you see it as a country which could lead to further infection across the Maghreb and the Arab world?
Tunisia has a long-standing tradition of civil society activism. It was the first Arab country to establish a trade union in 1946, the first country to establish a human rights league in 1977, the first country to grant women the right to vote. It has a very wide middle class. However, the conditions that existed in Tunisia and are not very different from the conditions in the rest of the Arab world. The absence of freedom, the absence of real democracy. So many Arabs are inspired by what's happened in Tunisia and will be inspired to replicate that.
Well, Abdelbari Atwan, let's be candid. Are there going to be leaders in the Middle East who are discomforted by what has happened in Tunisia? We know that Colonel Gaddafi is discomforted. He said so.
Yes, I think most of the Arab leaders actually are extremely worried that the virus of revolution in Tunisia could spread in their society because their situation or the people in their country's situation is worse than the situation in Tunisia. All of them suffering from corruption, from suppression, from actually lack of democracy or dictatorship who are ruling their countries, starving, so unemployment is very high, so no transparency, no independent judicial system, no democracy.
That's interesting because Abdelbari Atwan introduces something you didn't mention, which is, food prices, cost of living, unemployment. I know that as an exiled political activist, you would be pleased if this were a political event, but it's actually surely fueled by poverty and starvation.
If that was the case, then people on the streets of the capital, Tunis, and other cities today would be demanding that. What they're demanding is an end to dictatorship, the end of monopoly by the ruling party. That is what the people on the streets are asking for. Ben Ali's attempt to promise more jobs, promise the reduction of prices did not work. They did not appease the protesters. Hence, it was about a complete change, opening a new era in Tunisia of freedom and democracy.
But in other countries across the Middle East, we have seen protests about food prices. We have seen protests, ostensibly about the cost of living. Are they merely a shield for discontent with the administration, or are they actually about commodities?
John, people in the Middle East, they are not demonstrating because they are starved only, but because they are humiliated. They are humiliated by the West, the wars of the West in the Middle East, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, the lack of peace in Palestine, and also because actually the dictatorship which is ruling them. So they feel humiliated. They feel actually, badly treated. So they are revolting for dignity. They want to regain their dignity. The regimes in the Arab world used to starve their own people under the pretext that they are going to liberate Palestine.
All right, stick your neck out. Who's the next one then?
Well, I think, Egypt and Jordan could be the most candidates.
And how would that happen? I mean, Mubarak has an iron fist when it comes to opposition. Look what happened to the Islamic Brotherhood.
Yes, that was actually 20 or 30 years ago. But nowadays, the regime is ailing, very old and very corrupt. The dissatisfaction among the people in its peak. Mubarak himself is ill, and he tried to actually facilitate the succession of his son to take over from him, but it doesn't work. And also the rig of the election recently was a scandalous. So I think, his days could be numbered.
Yousra, your father leads a moderate Islamic movement. Are you not worried that actually what may happen at the end of all this is the door is left open to extremism?
What I'm worried about is that there are attempts now to contain the revolution and drop Tunisians of the demands that they have been asking for. What we're seeing in Tunisia today is the return of the same figures of the old regime. We see the exclusion of any real opposition, the exclusion also of civil society institutions, of the trade unions, lawyers, the unemployed graduate representative bodies who led this revolution. We see them excluded from the new supposed national unity government. So that is what is worrying.
Yousra Khanouchi and Abdelbari Atwan, thank you both very much indeed for coming in. Thank you. Back to Samira for tonight's